Tetsuo's transformation throughout the film is a result of trauma, mirroring the transformation of Neo-Tokyo, which itself is a stand-in for modern-day post-war Japan. Akira builds towards Tetsuo achieving the full extent of his power, and when he does, he undergoes a disturbing metamorphosis into a large creature. Tetsuo gradually loses his humanity throughout the film. By the end of the film, he is no longer physically human. After Tetsuo suffers the traumatic event that awakens his psychic powers, he is a mutant. After his fight with Kaneda in the military, he becomes a cyborg by grafting machines and a part of Akira to himself. His metamorphosis makes him into a large creature, and the final scene shows him to be an entirely new universe. Yet, there is also a gradual loss of humanity. After the hospital scene, Tetsuo comes to the realization of his psychic powers. He escapes the facility, but in the process, he murders multiple security personnel and attempts to kill the mutant children. This is different from the timid boy we saw in the beginning of the film. This difference in loss of humanity is further shown in the bar confrontation. Tetsuo kills the barkeeper for no apparent reason, and when he is confronted by his friends, he has a completely different demeanor, so much so that his friends do not recognize him as Tetsuo and ask him what he has become. He then kills one of them and escapes to find Akira. This is a big jump for Tetsuo's character. He is part of a biker gang and considers them a close group of friends. I would even go as far as to suggest that because Kaneda and Tetsuo are orphans, the biker gang acts as a surrogate family for them, and that turning on them like Tetsuo has signifies a loss of morals and humanity. The only way that Tetsuo is able to be redeemed is through Rebirth. While inside the explosion, Kaneda is able to experience Tetsuo's memories, and realizes that Tetsuo has always felt weak. He allowed these new powers to drive his transformation and loss of humanity. Tetsuo must now remove himself from the world in order to save Tokyo from his power. In doing so, Tetsuo is reborn as a new universe, a new being. The transformation of Tokyo is easy to track through the film. The initial trauma is the explosion that destroyed Tokyo in 1988, first believed to be an atomic weapon, but later learned to be the result of Akira's uncontained power. The city is then rebuilt as Neo-Tokyo. By 2019, the year that the anime takes place, the city is in chaos. Poverty, unemployment, and crime are rampant throughout the city. The government has grown militaristic, and widespread destruction occurs because of Kai's resistance group. Tokyo is once again destroyed because of the psychic children summoning Akira to stop Tetsuo. This time, however, the city is reborn. With all the psychics gone and the military left powerless, the city now has a chance to rebuild itself and to learn from its past mistakes. The children and the colonel did not allow the city to move forward from the trauma of the initial incident in 1988. They represent a sort of nostalgia for the world before the destruction of Tokyo, which is impossible to return to. Now that Akira is finally gone, the threat of another incident is removed. The threat of another apocalypse and trauma similar to that of 1988 is removed. In her work Akira and the Post-Nuclear Sublime, Frida Freiberg quotes Frederick Jameson when she states, "The Neo-Tokyo of Akira would thus seem to fit Jameson's view of science fiction's function. Rather than offering us images of the future, he argues that science fiction representations defamiliarize and restructure our experience of our own present, and that science fiction thus enacts and enables a structurally unique method for apprehending the present as history." I believe that Otomo intended Akira to mirror post-war Japan and to serve as a warning towards not only the Japanese, but also the world. The trauma that Japan has suffered after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki has never gone away. The atomic bombings have stayed a part of Japan's national identity ever since the end of the war, influencing everything from international politics to the arts such as film and manga. Akira's message seems to be that trauma itself does not create a negative impact, but the inability to move on from and let go of a traumatic experience creates a negative transformation. After the Second World War and the American occupation, Japan rebuilt itself as a country focused on capitalism and technology. While these have created economic growth for the country, they also led to large issues similar to those of Neo-Tokyo, such as unemployment and poverty. Although business and capitalism are present in the background of Akira, they are not explored the same as themes of power and authority. Akira is calling for a rebirth of Japan, to move on from the trauma of nuclear bombings and to move on from the capitalistic society created after the war. Akira is also warning the world of the danger of atomic weapons, represented through the psychic children. Overall, Akira argues that after trauma is experienced, a negative transformation ensues, a transformation that can only be rectified through a rebirth. This can be seen through the portrayal of Tetsuo and Neo-Tokyo in the film. This also applies to post-war Japan in relation to the trauma suffered through the atomic bombings.